collection, The Good Arabs, which will be coming out in September with Metonymy Press, not to be confused. And then I'm going to finish off with another poem from Not Body. Dear friends, lovers, and in-betweens, I forget to take my probiotics for a few days, and my shit get a little runnier. The things going on in my stomach are hard to explain. I'm not a scientist. I just listen to whoever sounds the most convincing. My last roommate told me 50 billion live cultures is where it's at. I take his advice, keep it in my back pocket for years. Every time someone asks about probiotics, I say, 50 billion is where it's at. My tape recorder mouth rewinding for the next time someone asks me. Be confident, and you can be convincing. My aunt takes her health into her own hands. She starts asking her doctor to prescribe her meds for her brain, for the pain, for her stomach, for anything she thinks might not be working. She becomes a pharmacist in her own right. When my sister starts having stomach aches, she tells her, take this, and my mom obliges. The skeptic in me rises, and a quick Google search shows it's more dangerous than it leads on. I tell my aunt, you're not a pharmacist, and feel shitty while saying it. She crawls into the ball she always goes into when she's being shamed. You hurt me, she says, and I can almost see a bruise forming on her arm. I forget to research the new medicine prescribed to me. I forget to remember its name. I say, I don't care. I can finally sleep. The skeptic in me has been sedated. I'm too exhausted to invest in the research. The sleep deepens. I go into a better state of rest. The grump moves on to bigger and better things. I can once again abuse my body to its limits because capitalism isn't going to let me stop, especially now that I can stay awake. Watch me serving coffee again, my legs ready to fall off. XOXO, Eli. All right, so this next poem is called This Is Not a Poem. In this new poem, there are no words. You might think there are words in this poem because you're reading the words you think you see, but I promise you there are no words at all, no phrases, not one sentence. There isn't an image of forgetting. Grab your wallet when you leave the house, or when you feel absurd for trying to tell your mother that you are poly. She says, does your partner know? Imagine you cheating on your partner and then telling your mother casually, inspecting your fingernails for dirt, gorging on the everything of your desires. So maybe this is not a poem after all, not the confessional you might have expected. The fat around the pork makes its way through the small spaces between your teeth as you continue to suck and chew. It is tasty. It is not a poem, but an indulgence. You are working on turning the pork into small enough pieces so that it can make its way successfully through you to be made into shit and get on its way out. But the fattiness of the pork is your most basic pleasure in this mouth. So you don't open your mouth or say any words. And like this poem, not poem, your mouth is not a poetic installation, but the chewing is decadence. You have always been a slow eater, and you sit at the table as your parents become impatient, your sister leaving the table first, then your mother, then with a sigh, your father. Do not leave before you finish everything on your plate. But you don't want the broccoli, only the fat of the pork, and you are stubborn, and so you sit, moving food around, not in a poem, but at a table in the kitchen, and pick at the broccoli and chew slowly, slowly, until he says, get up and you brush your teeth and go to bed. In poems, there's often this moment of reveal, but in this, nothing is revealed. Not a poem, nor a moment of sinking into your chair. Those moments are left out with the shit and the pork, unlike the ones filled with fat and leaking over the edge. You say, not this time, and hold it all in. Until overfilled, you push it all out. And when she asks why you always have stomach aches, you shrug and answer her, This is not a poem. I didn't realize how many stomach poems I had chosen. So this next one is called Don't Let Me Be Lonely, and it's after Claudia Rankine's book. She said, "Don't let me be lonely." And I said, "Lonely? Okay." Her meaning I meaningfully obscure. She's probably smarter than me. It's hard to admit as a Virgo. I can't tell if you hear what I'm saying. The absence is essentially forgotten. The only thing on my mind is fuck Israel. The only thing I put out into the world is don't talk to me. The only thing I reach for is your hand. If only I had $1 for every time I hear someone say Arab. I would not have many dollars because I don't have TV. I don't live in the States. I don't do many drugs. I did cocaine once. Does that count? Those silly people don't know anything about anything. I am silly and don't know anything about anything. If we compare ourselves to those loved by many, we will always get hate on Twitter. Don't give your opinion too loudly. Don't tell them that they're wrong. Cancel culture doesn't exist for the privileged. We weigh in on matters far away. Keep your 6 meters apart from me. You might not be able to see it, but the only part of my nose that I love is the part that's bigger than yours. Okay, so this is the last poem I'm going to read from The Good Arabs, and then I'll go back to Not Body. It's called Ma Salama. With age, we become more intimate, something that makes us both sweat. If only we could speak more plainly. Instead, we sweat and we sweat. The past becomes the present when we speak it into existence. My khalo tells me about the first time he came to Canada, sweaty in the way I inherit, nervous in the way I also inherit. He took a boat and then a plane and then a plane dripping with sweat. Sitting beside an Egyptian man, mouth hard with G. My khalo is kind but distracted. Through the conversation, gives him some lightness, a little bit of sweetness lingering in the man's mouth after they share chocolate. He looks my uncle up and down, and khalo takes a gulp, his body vibrating with a new kind of nervous sweat. At the security checkpoint, his armpit stains so wet the t-shirt looks 3 times as dark. Through his gray shirt, he sweats and he sweats. Staring at the tall back in front of him, he joins one of the lines, praying, Allah yisa'idne. When he looks up finally, he sees a familiar face smiling at him, drying the sweat. Ahlan, the Egyptian man says, and my khalo passes him his passport. Barely looking at it, the man passes it back, my khalo replying with a hurried suite of shukrans with the most thanks he's ever felt. Ma'as salama, waves the man. Ma'as salama, says my uncle, his passport and palms dripping with sweat. All right. So I'm going to read my last poem. And I want to thank Ashley from Metatron for having me and Anteism for this. Hopefully I said that right. I think so. So yeah, I'm just going to read my last poem and then on to many other great readers today. Dear friends, lovers, and in-betweens. The resemblance is uncanny. Are you two related? It's just something in your dark eyes, the way you both stare. Endlessly, you're asked about your relationship, what you are to each other and what you aren't. Shame to be an in-between. The ways you can't quite articulate your proximity, your distance, the bits that feel just right. You anticipate more questions, but they never come, because there's something so alienating about the two of you together. People don't like what they can't understand. In the 80s, my mother traveled far away from home, and because she did well in English classes, she felt ready for this new adventure. But a new world is never like an old world. every intonation different, every gesture of approval or disapproval switched. The pain showed up in her arm years later, and she didn't quite understand the connection, but I told her it was there. Or is she onto something? Maybe nothing makes sense. I'm trying to fabricate meaning from nothing. I try to piece together pain and cause as though it could ever lead me to cure. When I feel less pain, it is always a relief. When I feel less depressed, I can almost bounce off the wall. It is midnight, but I still want to hang out. I text a few people, tell them it's not a booty call, I promise. We head out, climb Mount Royal, and sit around talking until the sun rises. I take several drops of CBD and lean deep into the green grass. Oh wait, had I said it was winter? Okay, wait, actually, we're in my bed again, and I take several drops of CBD and lean in deep into my cushion-topped bed. You smoke a bit outside my room because I hate the smell of it, and we joke about nothing. When you're ready to sleep and we turn off the lights, I keep talking, and you laugh and tell me to shut up. But of course you're on board, and we laugh until sunrise, getting out of bed to watch it, each with a blanket over us, like little body tents. The irony is that this has never happened, drifting between awake and a dream, but a poem might will it into existence. I'll paint a beautiful scene, watch it gleam and shine, present the perfect sentence, and everything might be all right. It's like trying to get out of bed. If I visualize it enough, one day it'll happen. I'm getting out of bed. I'm getting out of bed. I'm getting out of bed. I pick my head up. I'm getting out of bed. I'm getting out of bed. I'm getting out of bed. I elevate my torso. I am getting out of bed. I'm getting out of bed. I'm getting out of bed. I swivel my legs off the bed. I'm getting out of bed. I am getting out of bed. I am getting out of bed. I am sitting up straight. I'm getting out of bed. I am getting out of bed. I am getting out of bed. I get up. XOXO, Eli. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Helen Chow Bradley. I will be reading more or less the first half of the title story from my forthcoming short story collection, which will be published by Metonymy this fall. It's called Personal Attention Roleplay. Hello, and welcome to this video. A blonde woman with a pale, poreless face leans towards you. Today we're going to do some Reiki energy healing to pull out any negative energy you may have. We're going to help you relax, relax, relax. Her blue eyes are wide with mascara. Her teeth are bright white and well aligned. They peek out from her lips, which open and close in mesmerizing patterns. I see that you have yellow in your aura. which means that you're spiritually aware. She moves her hands as if she's pulling threads from somewhere behind your ears, clicking her tongue delicately on certain words. We need to get rid of your negative energies. Her consonants are crisp and wet in your earphones. Your eyelids start to flutter. Her voice wraps around your skull. You shiver as it spreads, like a swarm of tiny insects. Feel the energy of your third eye. What in the actual hell are you watching? You slam your laptop shut, twist to face your bedroom doorway. You didn't hear Jasmine approach from down the hall. All that yoga and meditation, you think, with admiration. She's learned to move in total silence. Ha ha ha, you say. It's, ASMR to help me relax. I was thinking about what you said the other day, and YouTube has been recommending all these relaxation videos to me anyway. Like, it's probably been listening to our conversations so frequently that it knows what I need, or it thinks it knows, and I really want to be a better roommate, like more chill, Justine, you're rambling again, she says. She used to lie in your bed all the time, curl up with you, hang out for hours, play with your hair. You would hate watch straight dating shows together, shrieking with laughter and disdain. Lately, she just lingers in the opening. You want to explain about the videos, the flow, the crawling, yet pleasing sensation they give you, but you find yourself saying, sorry, I'll be better. Justine, stop apologizing. It's cool, I guess. But when I said you need to find a way to relax, I didn't mean go watch some white girl appropriating traditional Eastern health practices. You can feel your face drooping. She still doesn't come in. Don't make your puppy face, please. I really can't do this today. And listen, it's great that you're trying out something new. I'm heading to yoga. I'll see you later. Let's order in for dinner, you say, hopefully. I'm trying to save money, actually. I think I'll just make some food at Anila's after class. Don't wait for me, okay? Have a good night. She's at the door, mat under her arm, before you have time to be upset. Strategic. You flip your laptop back open and press play on Vicky Whispers, but after a few seconds of her fluttering fingers and tongue clicking, you turn her off again. Now that Jasmine's judged her, the flow is halting, unsatisfactory. She's just a pale-faced girl making stupid tapping noises on a tub of moisturizer. It's no longer relaxing. It's cringy. Another evening without Jasmine stretches before you, lonely and contemptible. You try to lie down on your bed, clattering a pile of books and electronics to the floor. You've always looked to Jasmine to decide what you'd do together. You've been roommates for 4 years, existing in tandem, eating and smoking in bed, tending your growing family of plants together, gossiping in the bathroom while one of you showers and the other sits on the toilet, going out to bars and queer events with friends. Her friends, admittedly, but they have become your friends too. You're pretty sure they have. Just as you're pretty sure things between you and Jasmine are fine, you're just in a minor rut, having some minor issues. It happens in any close relationship after a certain amount of time. Your brother thinks that your relationship with Jasmine is weird and overly intimate. He has said this to you over the phone multiple times. He says it again this evening when you call him out of boredom or desperation. You're so obsessed with this girl, he says, disparagingly. This is his default tone with you. If you want a girlfriend, go find an actual girlfriend. Someone who wants to date you, Justine. You hate it when people use your name as emphasis, especially when giving you unwanted advice. Try to calm down, Justine. Go get a real girlfriend, Justine. Stop treading water, Justine. You don't know anything about queer femme intimacy, Francis, you tell your brother. You think you understand my life, but face it, you're a basic mainstream gay and you need to get over yourself. He can take it. He's the successful boy child, the one who became a hotshot corporate shill, an executive talent management consultant at some soulless entertainment conglomerate. You understand the words of his titles separately, but when he says them together, your brain blurs. He lives in LA with his husband. Your parents are proud of him, even though you suspect they don't understand what he does either, other than fly business class to cross-national strategic retreats and collect a hefty paycheck. They practically congratulated him when he came out to them. They are not proud of you. They rarely call. Mom and Dad weren't even that kind of Asian parents, Frances says, when you complain. They never pressured us to go into medicine or software engineering or law. They would have supported you no matter what you decided to do. You grunt. Your problem is that you do literally nothing at all. So what are they supposed to say? That it's admirable to waste your life living in a dumpy apartment, obsessing over a girl who isn't into you? You're such an asshole. I'm not doing absolutely nothing. Your mind is racing. L'esprit de l'escalier, you think. But you forget what exactly that refers to. Something about snappy comebacks and staircases. I'm making rent. I'm writing like 20 reviews a week. I'm working constantly. Just because I'm not a smug married millennial like you and don't have a dumb corporate job that no one understands. You're not writing real reviews, Justine. You're writing clickbait. And if we're going to get all snobby about working for the man, who do you think owns the site you churn out all that subversive content for, huh? You hang up on him. He's been a know-it-all since you were kids. A know-it-all and a perfectionist. Unlike you. You hid candy and chips under your mattress, lost bits of homework under piles of dirty laundry, never raised your hand in class, and never stuck with any extracurriculars for more than a month. Part of you wishes that your parents had been less lenient, that they had ordered you around, forced you onto a set path with no other options. You would rather die than admit this to anyone. Listicles don't just write themselves, you mutter, and then you laugh, an unimpressed laugh, because it is the stupidest comeback you've ever heard. You turn back to your laptop screen. Maybe if you write a couple more articles tonight, you'll feel like you've accomplished something. You scroll through the assigned topics. 10 reasons why Brad and Jen should never have split up, and 10 reasons why they should never get back together. 17 movie adaptations that are way better than the books. 21 TV shows that advance the LGBTQIA agenda. 15 reasons why, no matter how many listicles you write, you'll never get a raise or health benefits. You start typing. You wake up past noon to the landlord's kids scrambling around upstairs. How can such small people make so much noise, you wonder? You wade through a pile of clothing and stumble to the kitchen to see if Jasmine's made coffee yet. You can't smell anything, but maybe she woke up early and left you some. The kitchen is empty. The door of her bedroom is open, and her bed is made. When did she start making her bed? Or is it just you who never makes yours? Another thought overrides all the others. Did Jasmine sleep over at Anila's last night? Are they dating? You thought they were just friends who go to yoga together 5 times a week, hang out increasingly often, and post a ton of stories together. Not as many stories as you and Jasmine post together, but Jasmine's never mentioned a crush, and you tell each other everything. Anyway, wouldn't you have noticed if a romance was developing? Wouldn't Jasmine seem different? Smell different, breathe in a new rhythm, smile with a new intensity? You know her better than anyone else. Then again, the empty room, the empty espresso pot, the neatly tucked sheets, no texts. The absence of her warm body in your bed for the last 2 weeks. Your mind goes blank for a bit, the way it does when your thoughts start to pile up too thick and fast. You find yourself in the kitchen, scooping chocolate cereal out of its box, cramming it past your front teeth in large fistfuls, chomping on it with a singular focus. You don't stop until all that's left are little broken crumbs, until all you can feel is an immovable lump in your stomach, a throbbing in your temples, and a scraped, bloody stinging in your gums. You put the empty box back on the shelf. You pour yourself a soothing glass of water. What had Jasmine said? 5 glasses a day? Or is it 10? Or is it 10 liters a day? How many glasses are in a liter? You abandon the water, collapse back into bed. You yank a pair of earphones from the tangle under your pillow. After clicking around on YouTube for a while, you find some Asian-looking ASMR makers, ASM artists. No more white girls for you, no more appropriation. Jasmine's right. Asian voices are more relaxing anyway, you say to yourself. And then you think, no, wait, is that a stereotype? Does this mean that you, an Asian, have bought into the racist idea that Asians are more effeminate and therefore more soothing in demeanor and also better suited to care work? You start to sweat, but you force yourself to watch a video in which a Korean woman with perfect eyeliner and a pink mouth pretends to tweeze your unruly eyebrows. Her low voice undulates as she approaches to pluck, moves back to evaluate her work, approaches again, moves back again. You can't understand what she's saying, but you're mesmerized by her motions, by the metallic clicking of the tweezers, which by the end you can't believe are not actually pinching the tiny, coarse hairs out of your face. You haul yourself to the bathroom and dazedly peer into the spittle-flecked cabinet mirror under the fluorescent light. It highlights all your secret wrinkles. Your stockpile of toothbrushes winks from its jar beside the sink. A wicker basket full of half-used face creams, hand creams, serums, lotion pots, toners, cleansers, tweezers, makeup wipes, nail polish, and cuticle paste looks at you accusingly from the top of the toilet tank. It's all yours, not Jasmine's. You have caterpillar eyebrows and a scarcity-oriented worldview, you say out loud. Jasmine loves to irritate you by stroking your eyebrows in the wrong direction, with one laughing fingertip, so that they caterpillar even more. Stop it, you like to whine at her, but you love it. Her attention bathing you like a ring light. She hovers so close that you can almost imagine her face is your own. Jasmine's mother is from Hong Kong, like yours, but she looks like a catwalk beauty alien, all wide-set eyes and rosebud mouth, whereas you exhibit none of that intrigue. Your face is big and round like the moon. In high school, your nickname was Fivehead. Your mother, bird-like and shrinking yearly, calls you stocky. She blames this on your father's family, who are from Guangdong. Farming people, she shakes her head. You haven't heard from either of them in months, which normally doesn't bother you because Jasmine is your family. Hasn't she said so? Or was that you? She still hasn't texted or even sent you any memes. Should you go for a walk? Breathe in the outdoors? Instead, you return to bed, where ASMR bitchy older sister helps you do your makeup is waiting. That's all. Thank you to Ashley for inviting me to be part of this reading, and to Anteism for the space and the sound.
I'm going to be reading a few poems, and I'm getting closer to the mic. I'm going to start with an older poem. This is like the basically one of the first love poems I've ever written. I find writing about love very difficult. Okay, this is called Bumblebee Unlimited. I missed the sunset looking for a job on borrowed time. In reality, I should have been watching the sunset and trusting that my description of the sunset would be a source of wealth because people would want to hear about the sunset the way that I would describe it. Out there, you are taking my word for it, so you are not watching the sunset. You are watching your past haunt you in the present through your other senses. Ominously, everyone in the park is looking up at the sky. Nothing seems to be falling but me, and I'm all the way over here, covered in honey and misery. I'm tired of the bees out here hounding my personal space. I don't want to open my mouth too wide for you and swallow one. The last thing I need right now is to end up in the emergency room. The next day, on a walk, I get to hear from you. You drop from a tree and sidle into my palm at a guarded pace. You're the size and consistency of a fortune-telling paper fish. I promise myself I will care for you, even though I'm trying not to do that sort of thing anymore. But soon, you are the size of a small cat and you keep running into the hall. All alone, I unlock the door and hope you'll come back changed. When you do, and you are, I crack an egg against your skin and peck at it lightly, so as to say, I understand that this is delicate. What did you bring me? A collar and a painted wooden toy. I put the collar on my lamp as a joke, but inside I feel a bit shy. I'm too young for a wooden toy, but the way it looks at me makes me feel absolved of the past, and I'm grateful. What will we do to celebrate? A cork pops and I think of you inside me. The gratuity of the thought is what makes it worth thinking. We drink the foam off the top of the bottle so nothing is left on the sides for us to stick to or get stung by later. I want to take you to the park and explain everything. There are new birds I've never heard here. I could describe the way they sound, but I don't believe I'm good enough at that, so you'd really have to see it. Or hear. Why don't you open your mouth and let me look? Maybe I can show you how to make the sounds with your throat. When you finally get it, I can see down your insides, and I feel I understand this all a little better. So, what will we do to celebrate? The grass is sweating under me. I wipe it all up on my knees and look up at you so as to say, it is an instinct for me to be of service, but I'm trying to grow out of it. Now I hate to beg, unless it is for forgiveness or your cock. Suddenly the sunset flicks off and I am left with moderate city darkness, where everything is still clearly visible, like your face and my hopes, and how you want to bury your face in my cunt. I feel like a mango. I want to hold you there, but I'm scared I'll crack your head open like a walnut. I've always been the walnut, so I don't know my own strength. Everything else I'm going to read is from a workshop that I did with Tess Liam, who is an amazing writer who wrote a really beautiful book called Obits that I love a lot. And I really love to learn. And so just whenever I'm given a prompt or an opportunity, I really feel grateful. So all of these are from that workshop. I would also call them kind of, this chunk of poems is kind of like my Chile poems from visiting. Mi casa, su casa, or home is where my death is. Here it feels like everything is up in the air. Birds on the vine, on the tree. A type of death light out the window. White stucco, white sunlight against a hole in the wall from 1970 avocados off the tree, etc. I'm not afraid of the sea when all I'm asked to do is look at it. Yes, I speak the language of this heart, and in the morning I break bread with a mouth that holds a lot of empty words. What do I say about a rock that's wet and red forever? I don't want to look away, but it's better not to know sometimes things me. I didn't come from anywhere, I just appeared, and you can take me anywhere too. I always thought I'd want to go before it all ended and there was no more room for my feet in the water. My feet get so warm when they're not watered. Doris's house is not my house. Doris has a television, and it's always steaming hot because it's always on. We keep wondering what will finally turn it off. Things that could do the trick. The electric bill. Her son taking a sick day and losing his job. Someone rolling her out and lowering her into the ground and then switching it off on the way out the door. A bit bleak, all in all. Best to keep it on. In the present tense, I feel like I'm really far away, and it's kind of boring because a large part of my life is just waiting to be told someone has died before I got to say goodbye, which means I have to learn to regulate my emotions, which I think makes me kind of cold. You don't have a place to stay in a place that's not really yours unless you have someone in it to see. Kind of obvious, but visiting where you're from is a genre. Anyway, back in the past. That fucking television, whispers my mother while taking out her hearing aid. It gives me a pulsing headache to watch people disagree and also to disagree with people. I always have something jammed in my ear anyway, so who am I to cast stones down on a loud television? What I mean is, I like to hear if something has changed or not changed on a daily basis. And I like to find out about it from an outside source. And I like the outside source to calibrate the tragedy for me so I don't panic. One thing I can never seem to find my keys about with the news is how sometimes nothing happens, even though I swear it did. Like we were just talking about it yesterday. And it's starting to feel like you're a human statue and you're starting to scare me. There's a lot of in-between in this story, but I'm skipping it. On the last day of my last trip, you wouldn't believe it, but the television is on. Los Jaivas are staging a comeback tour live after the spelling bee. The song they play is Sube a nacer conmigo, hermano. You can look it up if it feels important. I start to cry and cover my face, but it's too complicated to explain why to the people I don't know. My mother looks up and catches falling plates because she knows a broken clock is right twice a day, by which I mean she knows my father is saying hello or goodbye by playing our song from hell or heaven or wherever it is really complicated men go. I have no idea why she's crying, says Doris, which is fair because nothing happened. Okay, this next poem is called Apple of My Sty. I put warm rain in my hot water bottle until the weight is nice in my hands. I rest it on my big red eye. Something has swollen my eye shut, and I have a suspicion it was my fault due to the way I've been living. Today I sat in the tub until my face was completely red and raw and fresh, a new baby, soft, blurry eyesight, only seeing things in black and white, that kind of thing. Yesterday, I looked out the window at a squirrel climbing a fire escape to the roof of my neighbor's house. It made me want to roam unbothered into the privileges of the people around me, which I'd only ever done before in disguise. When I get one of my whims and go for it, everybody stops me. Stop stopping me. Right now, my whim is to get up on that roof where I can suck the sun directly into my gut and get it onto my eye to cool it down. Right now, I'm trying to solve my problems on my own. Mostly, I don't want to go to the doctor about my eye. Why? Doctors killed my father. A very long pause. I can tell I've gone too far again. Maybe what I mean is you can kill someone you don't see. But enough about that. I have to tell you a secret. Somewhere all the way back on my mother's side is a nameless Spaniard who jumped off his fleet into the ocean because he didn't want to die. He swam, and he swam, and he swam, and when he slugged onto the land, he consumed the lightest girl he could find, and that was that. I feel like probably he should have died, but people rarely die when they deserve to. And now I'm here, and I have to know he's there inside of me, inside of my face, inside of my eye. Flying over his ocean, I point and say, hey, my mom was supposed to end up there, but she ended up somewhere else. Not in a good place or a bad place, just a slightly less wet place. People rarely end up where they deserve to. The last poem I'm going to read is called Money. And I had never tried this form before, but it can be read both ways, two ways, and I'm going to read it in both ways. So that's one thing to know about it. I was excited about how obtuse it was when I read it this one way, and I'm not used to being obtuse. So I thought that was very exciting. And then the other thing is that I really hate spelling out the word money. Makes me feel very unhappy. So I just imagine it's just with a $sign. Money. One time while we were together, I thought we would have it. Not you, though. Walking down the street, money, though the we was loose. You at palms in the face. I asked what it was and implied inheritance. Sometimes not. That made you inheritance to me? From whom? It never stings, though. So calm, even though what good white mother leaves money to watch it pass you by? Of course I knew. Out for all, me, to see. Because of course, yes, we figured it out. Money on the counters, money on the windowsill. There is money, money. No, money eludes me, personally, right around the bend. Money. One time while we were walking down the street, I asked what it was that made you so calm, even though, of course, I knew. Yes, we figured it out. Money. Together, I thought we would have it. Money. Though the we was loose and implied inheritance. Inheritance to me? From whom? What good white mother leaves money out for all, me, to see? Money on the counters, money on the windowsill. No, money eludes me, personally. Not you, though. You at palms in the face. Sometimes not. It never stings, though, to watch it pass you by. Because, of course, there's money right around the bend. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Ashley and to Anteism and to all the other readers. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone. Thank you to Anteism and Metatron for having me today. I'm really excited. This is my first reading in a year, so I'm going to start with a poem called Erosion. Erosion. Then patterns emerged on our skin. If staring long enough at her spine, Rorschach tests make me ill and gay all the way back to the crook of the elbow. River fractals fall. Dust originates in skin. Back there and then a family of ducks pedal feet against Laurentian currents. Make it over far side. You and me could have touched them, but they swam off to the mainland. Us too. We head back to the bigger island, and a bus stop. And a bus stop is just another big island, isn't it? Eros plus or minus ion equals misplaced often. Sor in Eros, O in ion. What to do with these quantum mechanics when land loves to leave, land loves to return, shaped otherwise. The next poems I'm going to read are a series of poems I wrote about the underpasses that I live by, which I actually walked through to come here today. And the first one is titled Park Underpass. Rush hour expects the best work behind us. These vehicles miss uprisings for deadlines. My siblings live in the tangerine gloam of underpasses, where metal lifts off itself and tree pulp pastes walls. Gasoline and dust reminisce burial. Yellow dotted lines ask, whose side are you on? While a false center resides in stagnancy. To stop here is to risk violent erasure, forgetting, or insurgency. We are tied so tight to the railway tracks our bones break the chains. We pass under for communion with buried loved ones, astounded again by the impersonality of cars. They're here and then they're not, while we're still on foot, stepping into a different time. Speed of lightness moves too fast to observe a world attempting growth from aestheticized rubble, accented with chicken wire. No one has to tell us there's no way to fly here. We know, we become the wind.
Clark Underpass. The only time summer 2020 became, I was drunk under, passing under, taking the journey home, rode bareback, striped in sunlight on my screaming Facebook Marketplace bicycle. The sunlight was actually fluorescence rather than sunlight, and the summer was actually hell rather than all the things I saw down here that lied while context forgot. A can of shaving cream, 3 toothpastes, and 4 razors. The man wearing expensive neon running gear who could not hide his pissing in any corner. Bits of barbed wire. And every time summer 2020 became, midway, a concrete fence swung open to heaven, relief to radiance, whatever is lost to this sonic air underneath, heath to matter, I understand only and all and every construct alibis for the pavement, which rests immaculate. Maybe sometimes rain brings out stalactites, concrete reconstructs against supremacy of archways, condemns the new world, snails make their way across yellow, white lines, sprinting slow so they won't drown in muck, but crushed on that supine pavement, too small and without memory of their meaning, still knowing that they meant. Saint Laurent Underpass. There are 2 sides to everything, and both are rusted through. So what's over there could be here, and over theirs and here's might not be the point at all. Asphalt and exhaust will grind out something more solid someday than this unsolicited advice. If you show up early, no one will know how good you are at falling. They will all praise how grounded you are. The next poem's from a workshop I did with Tess Liam and Marcella, who read earlier. And it's kind of a weird one, but I'm excited to read it. This is my first time reading it in front of anybody. Wharf Rats. My dad told me a story about growing up in St. John. When I was a kid, the wharf rats were as big as cats and they'd steal your dinner. I grew up far away and there were only spiders. Spiders are very polite. They let you go to sleep with a full stomach and only sip your water when you're not looking. The Bay of Fundy has the highest tides. The ocean salts the road at the Caves Chowder restaurant. It's long enough between visits that I can see the difference. Red caves and cliffs are already crumbling. All my friends left this place because it was killing them. Same. Do we call the place that is closest to homeland home, heart, or wound? Or do we wait for something else to emerge from the gape of vocabulary's future? The wharf rats are the only ones who are doing fine in St. John, New Brunswick. Their little hands, so human but not, and their bad teeth won't cost them a job. I will join them when the ocean's safe again. In the future, I will share fish and chips with wharf rats as big as German shepherds curled at my feet. We love each other, and all the pulp paper oil tycoons have finally died or left, and the goddamn racist lobster fishermen have finally fucked off. The abortion clinics open back up, and I can visit my grandmother on weekends. My little cousin is getting so big. Finally, I can live in this place where my relatives survived while wild blueberry fields overtake us. Wild blueberry fields overtake borders. So all across the bay, fields and forests and beaches and ocean turn red in late August. Finally, not because they are soaked in blood, but because this land is so sweet in its healing. Kind of as a follow-up to that poem, or I guess also an intro to this next poem, The Star, My family is from Atlantic Canada. We're Black Loyalists, and I've lived here part of my life and also in New Brunswick part of my life. But that story is kind of something that interests me, and that history of like leaving the States to come to Canada with promised land that's not actually good land is something that I've been focused on recently. The Star. In 1783, those who didn't follow the North Star sipped gourds of peaty water, and from ships remembered ocean's cracking of skin, cruelty that even oceans have lakes for respite, wealth of salts depleted above, concentrated below, deep in the planet's veins, blood breaks down from ancestors, salt we sprinkle over navy plates, sometimes tinged red. I know I have a future because of Polaris, in the cracks between dreams. Stars are lakes in deep space. Give me new moon returned to loving arms and starlight pricking all over with silver tongues. Sometimes I believe in the power of looking up. There's an elegance in falling between states, element of surprise that the yellow and white pills are working to make the supernova burn slower. Futurity without a will for the end. What is that? Some kind of dissociative glory? All right, so I'll be leaving you soon, right after this poem, but thanks everyone who's watching. Thanks again to Metatron and Anteism. After the flood. They will find something unexpected glimpsed through ripples. Down where salt settles, a clear current slashes the Trans-Canada's jugular, and something sparkles from a crack in drowned concrete, reborn riverbed. Here good omens lay, and what they once lost resurfaces. Knees to bank they beckon, past abolition, cupped and wet between a generosity of palms, open-shelled to a future where each grain of gold harvested from the warmth of these wounds is transubstantial. A table is set, a feast of Johnny cakes warm as suns demonstrates how gold now finds itself a homonym in sustenance, a wealth hymnal in its devotion to life without property. They have sung to this. They sing to it whenever old shining standards reveal themselves washed out, eroded. Toast. Toast to plenty, to depths, to darkness, to what sleeps in their open arms, to what wakes when it needs to be fed and is fed.
Hi, my name's Tara McGowan-Ross. I'm an urban Mi'kmaq writer and multidisciplinary artist. I'll be reading you some poetry from my first two books, which are called Girth and Scorpion Season, and they're both available at your favorite independent bookstore. This first one is called Obod 1. Awake, empty, ache briefly. Hit snooze as many times as you can. In yesterday's clothing and a nest of sleep scribbled notation, all of it hanging stale from your flesh and bed garments loosened from the exhaust fumes of your body into a thin layer of grime. Wake, silky, moist as the morning. Admire the depth and breadth of your hunger to be here, to be capable of ignoring the pinnacle of tens of thousands of years of evolution. Ignore it like the pleas of a child. You would make a terrible mother. Do not feed yourself, you think, as light filters in through a month's worth of precariously arranged water glasses on the window ledge above your bed. Do not feed yourself, you think, as the glasses throw a dozen different rainbows on the wall. Do not feed yourself, you think, as they clink together at a dozen different pitches, as the circular shadows from a dozen arrangements of dust make their lazy way across the room. This is how you start the morning. Your body screaming from the effort of being anything but still as you steel yourself against the oncoming struggle for a singular goal. While all across the city, people wake, take their coffee and their pastries, and in the distance the drumlins sit, your sisters. Places where pieces of this earth held on so tightly, while the world around them was carved away. So Girth, my first book, is a narrative in verse. This is from later on in the story. It's called Are You Lonely? Her girlfriend left for the weekend and I escalated tactics. Charged riot cops with a certainty I didn't have. Invited her over for post-demo beers. It's okay, just one. Or two. Or 7. Kept her late until her girlfriend's name punched holes in our silence, asked her, would you? Just once. Until she had to make a statement. The instant she said never, I knew I'd have to stay. This is how I operate. I say, are you going to the demo tonight? And what I mean is, please risk something with me. I say, is it okay if I sleep here? And what I mean is, will she be coming home? I say, did they hurt you? Are you okay to run? And what I mean is that I am tired of pretending that I am only killing time. What I mean is that it's complicated. And who am I to judge? What I mean is I won't tell. I promise. And then after I wake up, she is flat on her back, gripping the sheets like she is afraid of falling. I am afraid of falling. Been afraid since the first time I saw light pouring through the cracks in her resolve. All out of no. Her lips against my neck. I love that your shoulder has landmarks. So now we're skipping through to book number 2, which is called Scorpion Season. It came out last year, or 2 years ago, I guess now. Last year doesn't count, though, so last year. This one's called Confessional. I don't tell him about the sex, or the swearing, or the drinking. I know Jesus brought the party. God and I are chill. Instead, I say, Father, I haven't been taking any joy in this life at all. This is from Libations 2. This could have ended differently. Addiction is a social disease. Overdose is a cultural quality. The sad banality of I wish you were here. You could say this better than me. This one is called Obad for a Shipbuilder. It's written after Julie Manel and Kai Cheng Tom, and it was originally a forgery of Phone Sex with a One-Time Lover on the West Coast by Julie Manel. Morning lifts us shortly upwards, where we surface, ashy as my darlings in the urn of your bed. Our mouths make sticky facsimiles of kisses. We know something here needs rebuilding. We know these projects take time. I knew the risks when I came. After all, everything is lost or broken eventually. Please. Please tell me that I am worthy. Your compliance, however hesitant, is noted. I need to write things down before I forget them. Did you call me pretty or beautiful when prompted? Do I fuck like a woman who has lost things? Do you feel like a man when I arrive, folders pregnant with evidence of your trespasses? In this economy of desire, we must relinquish certain resources to collect returns, and by the books I fronted too much. But you already came in me, and the time for escaping with my dignity intact left when the dawn set the Mile End on fire. A psychologist tells me we repeat our parents' habits in love and money. My immediate family history is one of resource mismanagement. It doesn't always make sense to save things for mornings that might never come. Since we are here now, why not give it away? I put my underwear back on and the motions ignite the embers in my sweating temples, which is what I deserve. When your fingers found the space between mine, they were looking for something, but your informant needs time to recover. I feel most like a woman when you reply in single syllables. I have more things to say. Kindly respond to the attached survey at your earliest convenience. Was this solidarity or charity? I apologize for the obfuscating nature of my instructions. I am contractually obligated to refrain from the egging of your house, or from making a scene at your work, or from using your wife's legal name. Which side is my better side? What are the advantages to exchanging one kind of allyship for another? Now is probably a rude time to ask. One must make difficult choices. To engage in political acts like espionage or womanhood. Sometimes it's worth a little less integrity for the trust of a good snitch. Instead of writing profanities on your bathroom mirror, I scratched my knuckles raw in silence. This is an issue of sustainability. I swore I would stop apologizing in matters of sex and business, so instead I say, thank you for your time. and for your interest in this project. On my walk home, I noticed the ground is full of bodies saying you can make an entire civilization out of birch bark. How in some languages the translation of the word inheritance is a story about where you come from. I can't help but notice the sunrise over the Rosemont overpass and that it has come to raise this monastery you have built from your guilt. I will tell my daughters about you. I will carry the best of this, like a girl, rocking safe in the canoe of your arms. I will let the rest rot into the ground. Thanks. I'm Tara McGowan Ross. My book is coming out. It's called Nothing Will Be Different this fall from Dundurn Press. Thank you very much. Bye.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Olivia Wood. Really happy to be here today. Feels like the real world. Thanks to Anteism, thanks to Metatron. This is a piece called Fear. Labrador pining at the blue night, tethered to the post called language bed. Panting through the blue night, a long arm reclines somewhere. The duck and ran of the evening. A hard slab of butter on the mainland, malady ropes itself coyly in. Quick pop of pleasure at the Crown, the play was performed 6 consecutive nights, extreme success we never imagined. The tub leaking into the basement where, yes, he did die. Did they tell the next tenants? I'm not sure. Picnic under brocade. It's true the silo was painfully full, the seep rife at the bottom, but bad dogs rush in from the house when I stand up from my chair. I'm playing the long game. I'm loose in the limb, manifesting my women. May you always be the sensual, lying in the bluegrass of your in-law's yard, making quiet, permanent suffering sounds on the trundle bed. Your hand holds the river clam as they ekes open on the stair. A PBS documentary about the Dust Bowl means I am building a fortress of impossible suffering, leave me be. I have transcended time and fear of violence means I am going into town, would you like anything? Sounds don't care if you say them. Plus, some fears are useful, right? While others are not. Fear, a parameter delimiting some uncertain stretch of grasses. Fear of heights, fear of peeled grapes, fear you'll accidentally bite the head off, fear of balloons, fear itself of enclosure. So I cut the cords, so what? My ship departs, and still I work with butter and clay. Resolutely and awkwardly, I bring the earth with me where I go. I clean with ash, I parachute abstraction, I slick back the network, I repose infrequently. What precarity? What parent? In the list, I find 10 things hard as seeds on the sill and begin to choose. Hope my mom stops texting me. A contract. Will it have been worth the commission, I wonder, heaping the pennies of my early sexuality against the cement of the oscillating shore, tossing the excrement over the side thinking, so unbearable to have been near others. The difference between attention and a vacuum evades me, though. Yet in my sleeping, a contract may arise. The particular shoulders of cattle twitch and fall outdoors in the silver light, some Spartan desire within me compounding quietly, rubbing cogently against the invitation that lies coyly over some arms like an era. Shout out to Lest, an earlier version of that was published in Lest a little while ago. Machine. These the actual juices of the earth, modular and irreverent, cyst on my labia, cyst on the staircase, black in the courtyard, the table, her ceremony, her note, the shard I live in. Late swimming marginalia, her cock limp and hanging. The dead shouldn't be alone. Swaddled in ramée, touched with gloves, I don't use her inheritance in order to punish her, but sit on the porch all day and touch the pits of nectarines, and she doesn't pay me any mind. This is my house. Occasionally many things are possible at once. You the actor, I the player. Verbatim. She is born afield, warm leather loose in hand, lapping my usefulness by its median. Ripe passes glut in, her kind and hyperextended thumb signals just a quiet email. Our laugh in the theater takes its pearl in my memory, plinking in the pale, afternoon like a kidney, inside the sky, never out, always serving a red-brown mania for love. Who can blame the turner's careful attention, thinking the leg inside the post verbatim? Monument. Well, what do we do when it dies? With the red floor of death salting its wounds at us, it is good to make penance out of other things. Hardy work, death work, while the red of death oxygenates. The miracle occurs when you name the true thing, like metallic taste of loneliness, or dream which was the weight and texture of a cantaloupe, or the large rattle, rattle, rattle of a curse coming to find you. Well, what do we do when it dies? When it died suffering? If there was take and it was bad? The residents of the town passed their hands over the doors in the afternoon listlessly, one full of dread, one distracted, one whose hands had been newly animated by admiration. The currency of the dead does not ascribe much value to pity. The loose havoc of death touches you, drives down to the quarry, spins the PVC pipe, kisses her first kiss. It's good to make penance out of things. Some would rather try and give back the verbs, tear, get, wreck, abscess, and call it law. But sometimes when death touches you, you become constructed by death, the lake and your orgasm twitching at the shore. Wind. Social as in it is populated. Populated in that it is inhabited. Punctuated because we made monuments and moral fabrics and punishments so severe that they were made pervasive, but could not be spoken of, or could not be fully understood even in their speaking. Resting was facile and unincorporated. Moneyed as in there were bodies felled, the region exposed to water poisoning, legs abstracted. What are the requirements for demand to exist? Different kinds of numbness pervade each century. It is important to resist ahistorical poetry. People die inside systems and become the sawdust used to alleviate fire risk, to find marginal utility. Others suffocate on shaded cement while a civil servant bears down. Which system of logic and empathy you apply to the system you inhabit says a lot. How is a demand schedule created about your popularity and tax bracket and sex habits and favorite foods and drinks? Things can be made specific as easily as they can be obscured. Define the paradox of value. There was scaffolding put at the base of the river in order to pass very tall trees so that they could later become masts. What is the production possibilities frontier? A face in the black noon, a tone which is clean white and keening towards self-immolation, saying something you felt was beside the point, arms losing feeling in the dumb July air. How is a nation's wealth expressed? How is a nation's wealth expressed? Make me a pillar and flesh me. We expose the liver and wait very patiently on the front lawn, bloodhounds with you moving in me. I suck a strange hand with you living in me. At 20 hertz, it becomes diegetic. Across town, courtside, I tongue gracelessly at the cylinder, pulling and then lodged there, its interiors pale with use, interiors vague as a passage, interior joking at yours, interior scalped, mounted, overcharged, but too shy to count the change, too Anglo to press. Is it true that everything was left scattered in the yard? Hera caked with clay on the pale stage. In the beginning of her disappearance, she was not found. We tore our hair for her cause. We feel secure and empowered when we exercise penitence and self-denial. Steady hand on the kettle, lapel. She was found later in the wings. Feet buried in the coral of it. Hands foreign with the sick of it. Unsure if she could be seen by others. Gesticulate, tick, leak, scream, resume. So we will know our lover by the sound of his voice, by the marvelous kindness that opens up in that strong city. She sheds a layer and falls like a nail to the floor of the harbor. The boys up on the pier cry. the hum of generators on the mainland, air slung loosely over its rocks. The crux of Eros being that there is a medium with which to conduct. The ocean at night, for example. The air above the spectral riverbed at low tide. A cement lawn which is vaguely Floridian. A face beaming out from the dark woods. A new waste at a gas station. This poem's called Triad, an earlier version published in Bad Nudes. Triad. You are so poor before you. Your town square looms privately day and night, the big ones at their boxing matches, you in your saddle. You neuter no one, you sex no one. You, on the verge of hysteria, have the lac glass beside you, the electrified grid swimming loose at your feet. Beside your nerves, in the triumphant triad, you, yourself, you alone, you know how to access the lucid passage under sex. You will cling to any root. You abscond the proper syntax. Jazz is demilitarizing you. Your fingernails in their nail beds as you breathe. Yes, you breather. You are unkind to your mother. What does pagination have to do with it? With your burning hand, you write on the nature of life. Okay. So the last one I'll read, no title. I'm actually plastered, thinking about the eye of the lens again. Our cinematic time portends what? The sustained eye of the cherry changing its shape for you, who is me, really. Billions of units of flesh desiring and rinsing themselves of desire. A wind to toss my head in. Panopticism, or who's running this venue anyway? Again, am I interested in penance's rodeo? Yeah. Yes, I work out. The tremors of my long thigh in the bathroom while you wait. It happened in Miami with my girlfriends, lost and carrying in a box. Only in America do I say yes to an oblivion like that. That's not true. The world gives me a lot more than I need, kneeling on the line saying, maybe, you tell me. It has them in a K-hole on the stairs, close to a passage out of a bad period in my life. Not for the reasons you would think. I was getting dumber than I wanted to be and so tired all the time. So I decided not to be. Like, oh, you want a good life? Your life is none of your business. As a researcher, I turn the thing over in my hands, pretending, for my purposes, it is an apple. With just my hands to touch its jet surfaces. Feeling the protrusions, its rhythms and investments, its value prop, its cousins' names, its Latin root, my feeling, which is now a part of its nomenclature. Thank you so much.